Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video. In today's video we're not here to talk about potential signings, Rangers, rumours, none of that sexy stuff people. Now instead we're here to once again hold our hands up like this and wave goodbye to another Rangers player as Glen Kamara has officially left the football club and went down south. And this one's going to be really interesting, people, because not only have I been with you every single step of the way, so I know the way the current vibe is regarding a Glen Kamara, but also know what this laddie has actually done, because he's not just a player or a guy who's been here for a year or two. This guy has put in some hard yards, hard games and hard years at this football club and been an important piece in the old 55 jigsaw that was built upon and built upon and built upon to get us back to the top of the league. And I'll probably say a lot of things that's going to frustrate a lot of people, because again I know some people have maybe turned on Glen Kamara or can't be bothered with Glen Kamara or a wee bit frustrated by Glen Kamara, and that's completely fine because of the way it's kind of petered out his Rangers career. But we're going to talk about everything right here on the channel, the good, the bad, the moolah and the ugly. So strap yourselves in as we go ahead and discuss Saucy Glen saying goodbye. Whilst we are strapped in, however, let's go ahead very briefly and do a wee bit of YouTube isms then, shall we? It's just a friendly reminder in case you are enjoying the channel or enjoying the content, please consider hitting that like button or hitting that subscribe button. Or, as we always say right here on the channel, if you'd rather wait to see if this video is worth either of those things, let's go ahead and try to earn it. And it's interesting with Glen Kamara, as I've already touched on, because there is some frustration, there is some pain. But in case you're a Leeds fan right away and you don't want to sit and listen to the good, the bad and the ugly, you just want to know what you're actually signing, I'd argue, ladies and gentlemen, this move down to Leeds, moolah on the table for 1 second. Glen Kamara at Leeds for me just sounds like success, because you're getting a guy who's a very talented midfielder, wonderful at dropping the old shoulder and recycling possession. Again, he'll take the ball from A, he'll deliver it to B, he'll very rarely go to B himself and have a shot or cut back that way. And again, he doesn't really dominate that side of the park or that side, but in the middle, he's good with the ball at his feet. He can turn, he can make things happen, and he gives it to the people whose job it is to really make things happen, if you will. So in my opinion, you've got a very good, very talented, modern day centre midfielder. However, every single Rangers fan on this planet has listened to me say all that and say, yep, but that's also what's frustrated the life out of us over the last couple of years, and both can coexist, ladies and gentlemen, because what we need from a midfielder is maybe slightly different than what Leeds United are currently needing or requiring in their engine room. They're needing that type of body. What we needed was some output as well, some numbers and stats and some natural progression with Glen Kamara, because let's not forget, when this laddie joined us for 50k, well that's the song, I think it was really about 55k, but that doesn't roll off the tongue quite the same as 50k Glen Kamara. When this young laddie joined our team, it wasn't exactly the highest expectations or anything like that. He kind of came in, we were all interested, we knew he was a decent player at Dundee, but he can play well in the dross. How do you perform, when you get to the big leagues? And to be fair, the boy absolutely took off and looked like a Rolls Royce right away. I mean, his first 16-17 games at this football club, you're sitting back thinking, oh my god, this is everything we thought this guy was going to be, or a Dockery was going to be, or this was going to be. We had it in Glen Kamara, and he played a vital part in us starting to turn around our fortunes regarding the centre mid position. He was an important building block right there, and again, he was so young, and after year upon year after year, he stayed at that level, but he didn't improve on any of the other stuff that we were all expecting him to. And I think that's where a lot of the frustrations are, because he stayed the same player we signed all those years ago. Great in the middle of the park, dropping shoulders, can embarrass people, but he's never took that next leap, either being a defensive mid, nailing people, closing people down. He's never became that, and he's not became what he arguably can. And I would argue with folks saying he's got this in his locker to be an attacking threat in the middle of the park, but he's just not got the natural instincts or maybe the aggression needed to go and be that guy. Because what's so weird about Glen Kamara is, if you look at his time at Rangers and if you just look at his goals, he's only scored 9. in his 193 games for this wonderful, wonderful football club. And we'll touch on that a bit more later. But regarding the goals, every single goal is filled with class. None of them hit off him and went in or bounced off the post and in it. Every single one is tucked away, chipped away, scored wonderfully from outside the box, which again we'll speak about in a minute or two. This man has the coldest selection of goals I've ever seen, and I don't know, still 5 years on, if this guy's good in front of goal or no, because the guy just refused to shoot, but when he did, it ended up in the back of net. He's the weirdest enigma I've ever seen since Fashion Saga every week. But talent and ability to one side, it's maybe just no his natural instincts or his natural game in itself, and that's what's frustrated us year upon year as we've started to need that, because again, when you're playing against the two Banksy 5 in the SPFL, it's not always going to be your day. You need other people. Can't you just rely on this guy, this guy and this guy, which was our problem over the last 5 years, if we're on. If it wasn't Morelos, if it wasn't Kent, who was actually stepping up, who was scoring goals, if it wasn't Aribo popping in with a couple. We never had much stats in the middle of the park, and when you see someone as talented as Kamara not take that next step and maybe stay a year too long, that's when frustration starts to build, especially when you bring in the likes of the Cantwells and you see what we could have been having all along. So I think that's playing its part in a bit of a tumble dryer of frustration with Glen Kamara, because he didn't kick on and become what we wanted him to become. But again, I do feel like some of us are being overly harsh on the lad in the way we're speaking about the lad. He's incredible to me, because again, I look at his entire span at Rangers. He was such an important piece to our puzzle, as we've already said. Not only did he score big goals and win us big games, but he was vital in turning the tide versus Celtic as well, because we needed that midfielder who never gave the ball away. We could kick it when they had the high press coming after us and chasing us down and everything. Like Glen Kamara would be able to take it in that area, the only midfielder that would. They'd be able to spin a man and jog 15-20 yards. So I feel like we're often overlooking a lot of good things Kamara did for maybe the stuff that he didn't end up doing in a Rangers shirt. Now, before we do continue to kick the old tyres and maybe get to some of the frustrations that's obviously there regarding Kamara and annoyed me as well, let's talk about the Moolah very briefly, because again, I didn't feel like we need to break down the exact details, because there's, is it 4, is it 5, is it 6, is it 8.2, is it 3.9? Who actually knows what's actually gets said these days? We're undisclosed FC, every club's pretty much the same these days unless they beat a transfer record or anything like that. So let's not talk about specifics. All we know is we made a hell of a lot of profit on what we brought him in for, so fair play on that one. However, and I don't know if it's just me being a wee bit moany, but with the deal that was on the table last summer that was rumoured to be rejected, and that's what caused friction between Kamara and Gio. It was all over the place. Everyone had heard about it. He was disappointed that that offer wasn't accepted. Did we do ourselves out of business? Probably a couple million here or there, but there will be a lot of people, I know you're watching the video right now, screaming at me saying, CJ, did you see him last season? The fact that we maybe got 4, 5, 6, whatever we got for him is a miracle, because he was a shadow of himself last year, and that I hold my hands up and agree. Even being a bit of a backer of Glen Kamara and speaking him up, and I will argue with people and say that he is, for me, one of the best pound for pound signings we've made in 10-15 years. If you look at his body work, how many games he played, how many important pieces that he did actually bring to this squad, I think he would be in that conversation. Last season, he was shocking, and you didn't need to just take my opinion on it. Go back to when we sacked Gio, finally, ladies and gentlemen, and we brought in Michael Beale. Do you remember the first couple of weeks under Michael Beale? Let's get the real Glen Kamara back. Glen Kamara has an opportunity not to only come in this season, but to be a massive part of Rangers' future. This. He was talking him up to the hilt. One of his biggest backers there is. He loves Glen Kamara. And after playing him in a couple games, you could see he just didn't have any of that saucy Glen magic left in him. That time has well and truly spent, and Michael Beale done a complete 180 in the space of a couple weeks and a couple games. So you didn't need to just take my opinion on this man was a shadow himself towards the end of his Rangers career. Just look at what happened with the gaffer and where Kamara actually went. But I want to talk about something positive regarding Kamara, because if you are still watching, and I don't know how many people actually still will be, if you are, thank you so much. But I would love to know, what is your one memory of Glen Kamara in a Rangers shirt? If you are watching, please fire it down in the comment section below, because I'll tell you mine, and I think this probably shows you why I'm such a big defender of Glen Kamara, because for me, it tells you not only about the player we know was there, but we know about the man as well. Because let's go back to his biggest goal that he scored for us then, shall we, which was obviously in European football, that wonderful finish, frighteningly good finish from outside the box versus Leipzig. That was in a European semi-final, an emotionally charged night. The crowd was electrifying. He had every right, because that there is his biggest moment in his career. No disrespect to the laddie, but scoring in a European final to put us in a lead, that is his biggest moment. He had every right to take his shirt off, run to the camera, make it about him, enjoy the biggest moment that he's worked since a young laddie to have that type of moment. But what did he do, ladies and gentlemen? He took his band off and he ran over, kissed it, pointed to it, and he redirected every single player and the camera to pay respect to Jimmy Bell. So for me, that there shows you the exact type of class Glen Kamara is, and what a wonderful professional and human this man actually is. He did buy in to this football club. He did mean a lot to this football club. He did give a lot, and that there shows you what this club meant to him and what people meant to him as well, because again, it was his moment. He made it about Jimmy Bell. So for me, that shows you the type of person he is, and that's probably why I'll always be his biggest defender. So some of the digs I'm seeing, oh, he's never cared about the football club or anything like that, he's just this. If he never cared about the football club, he wouldn't have made his moment and handed it over to pay respect. If he was just in it for himself or ego driven, he'd have been away celebrating, loving life, doing his thing. But no, he loved the football club and he paid respect to the football club in his biggest moment. So that is how I'll remember Glen Kamara, and that's why I will wish him absolute all the best when he goes to Leeds down south, and I hope he does kick on. And again, I think he will. Not playing against a bank five all the time, and his play style of keeping the ball, recycling the ball is applauded a wee bit more than it is in Scottish football. He'll go on, and I'm sure he'll get another money move elsewhere after a year or two if he can help Leeds get back to where they belong. I think they're in very safe hands when you've got the likes of Glen Kamara. But aye, that's all I really got to say about the lad. He ended up finishing his Rangers career last year playing 35 games, 1 goal and 1 assist. It's no great, we've talked about it before. It's just a year too long. Everything was going wrong at the football club. Even one of his biggest admirers couldn't get the last bit of magic on. It was just spent. Ladies and gentlemen, players have lifetimes and cycles at football clubs, and Kamara's expired a year ago when he played 52 games in all competitions and scored 4 goals and grabbed 5 assists. Played 14 games in that European final run, grabbing a goal and 2 assists. The goal in the semi-final, that was it. That was him giving us absolute everything he had left for this football club. We decided to reject the bid. We kept him a year too long, and now people are talking about him like he's a duffer. No, for me, let's remember the good moments. Let's remember the high moments, and let's not remember him for maybe his sad moments, because I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the incident, and I'm not really want to spend too long talking about this, if I'm honest with you, because not only was it one of the worst things I've ever witnessed in a football club, this guy gave us a lot of good moments and a lot of good memories that he shouldn't be defined for a bad one. But the only reason I do bring up that night where again he was racially abused, and I still remember him crying on the park, Gerrard cuddling him. It was just one of those moments that you remember where you were. The only reason I want to mention it, however, is I'm seeing a wee bit of rewritten history saying he was never the same after that. That ruined his Rangers career. That ruined him as a player. I really find that a disservice to the laddie, because again, after that, he still had that amazing European goal, that amazing European run, still big games versus Celtic and cups and everything like that. So let's not define him by his worst moment that it was unfortunate there for everybody to actually see. Let's remember him the right way, as someone who again had something that should never happen to anyone happen to him, but again, he still pulled on the socks for us, got on and played another couple of years and gave us some massive moments. So that's just all I wanted to say about him. He's not going to be defined by that horrible moment. It didn't ruin his Rangers career. He managed to turn it around and end up playing some of his best football in the year or two after, especially in European football, where he was just as vital as the Kents, the Taverniers, everybody. We were all living the Lundströms. Kamara was just is important. That's it regarding Glen Kamara. Sorry it's a wee bit longer video. We'll only be doing this for every single player that leaves, the likes of the Scott Wrights and everything like that. But just players for me that I think deserve to be on this channel to say thank you and wish them all the best. And for me, coming here for 50k, doing what he's achieved, league, Scottish Cup, European final, he deserves that respect. What about you? Let me know your thoughts and opinions and your lasting memory of Saucy Glen Kamara. All the best, big man. I've been CJ Over 92. Thank you so much for watching. All the best and bye-bye.